The Los Angeles Lakers have gone all in this season, assembling a veteran-laden team in their quest to win the 2021-22 NBA championship. Fielding the oldest team in the NBA, with 6 players over 35 years old, they rounded out their free agency by bringing back point guard Rajon Rondo on a 1-year deal. Is it possible to have too much of a good thing when building out an NBA roster, and that thing is talented players? Moreover, Westbrook's homecoming to the Lakers is a blessing. On and off the court, you're likely to find reasonable arguments on both sides. On one hand, the NBA is a talent league, and the goal should be to get as much of it as possible. The most common refrain arguing for this approach will go something like, "Just give me the most talent and I'll figure it out." On the other hand, there is something economists call the law of diminishing returns, which says that at a certain point, the benefits gained from something go down as you invest more time or resources into it. When applying this to team building and roster construction, this can play out in a variety of ways, but it mostly comes back to asking people to do less than they typically would in some cases, and still be okay with it. Some people might be cool with that, get paid the same amount to do less or nothing, sign me up. But most professional athletes aren't wired that way. They want to play, and they want to contribute in tangible ways on the floor. With that, the Los Angeles Lakers have too much depth after this signing the NBA All-Stars Russell Westbrook. Hey, before we get to the video, if you haven't already subscribed to our Trade Hoops channel, then please subscribe to it so that you can get all the latest notifications of our videos. So let us start with today's video. The 32-year-old Westbrook was drafted by Oklahoma City in 2008 and spent his first 11 seasons with the Thunder. He was traded to Houston in 2019 and then dealt with Washington last season. In his last season with the Wizards, he averaged a triple-double: 22.2 points, 11.5 rebounds, and 11.7 assists, although he shot just 43.9% from the floor and 31.5% from 3 for the 4th time in his 13-year career. It wasn't even a calendar year ago that Rob Pelinka was on the top of the world as the architect of the team that won the NBA championship. Then, a strong offseason had brought in more raw talent and roster change than many expected had much of the basketball world looking at the Lakers as favorites to repeat. Over the months that followed, however, Pelinka was slowly taken down, peg by peg, as he watched his team be undone by injury and health and safety protocols absences. It all culminated in his Lakers being unceremoniously dispatched from the playoffs in the first round, losing 3 consecutive games after, you guessed it, another injury left Anthony Davis sidelined and the team simply falling apart after not getting enough reps together during the regular season. This brings us back to the present day. With this as the backdrop to the title defense that wasn't, you have to imagine what Pelinka was thinking this offseason when it was time to build out the roster. Not again. I'm not going to make the same mistakes I made with the last team. Pelinka wasn't going to allow his team to crumble under the weight of injuries or other absences if he could avoid it. No, he was going to find a way to build out a roster that could better deal with a scenario like the one that ransacked them last year. So Pelinka used the tools at his disposal to try to build out the best team he could to combat the thing that just plagued them. He consolidated several role players and traded them for a 3rd star. Russell Westbrook isn't the perfect player by any means, but he's the type of floor-raising, role-player improving, offensive initiator who can serve as a lead shot creator if one of LeBron or Anthony Davis is hurt or unavailable. Then, with the rest of his resources, he convinced the most talented players he could to take the money he had available to offer them, with the hope that the allure of living in Los Angeles, playing for the Lakers, and going after a championship next to LeBron, AD, and Russ would close the deal. So, Talen Horton-Tucker returned on a solid contract, Kendrick Nunn signed for the taxpayer mid-level exception, and a slew of rotation-ready role players all signed on for the veterans minimum. The result is a roster that currently stands 13 players deep, all of whom could argue they're good enough to play multiple shifts a night. I mean, look at this group. Guards: Westbrook, THT, Nunn, Kent Bazemore, Malik Monk, Wayne Ellington, Rajon Rondo. Forwards: LeBron, AD, Carmelo Anthony, Trevor Ariza. Centers: Marc Gasol, Dwight Howard. Not a single player on that list averaged fewer than 17 minutes a game last season. Only Ellington didn't at least get to the play-in game with his team. In other words, all of these guys aren't just used to playing real minutes with a defined role, they're used to doing it on a team that had real playoff aspirations and played meaningful games down the stretch of last season. Now, on the Lakers, at least one, and probably 2 or more of them, aren't likely to be regular rotation players at all. If anyone is equipped to handle this type of situation, it's Frank Vogel, with his straightforward communication style that is based on honesty and transparency. He's very good at setting the right tone with his players, establishing roles, and following through to meet the expectations he set. It said, even Vogel saw the limitations of that approach last season. They said all the right things and put on a good face about it, but give Wes Matthews, Montrezl Harrell, and Gasol some truth serum and then ask them how happy they were with their respective roles by the end of last year. I bet their responses wouldn't be all puppies and rainbows, even going beyond the team's early playoff exit. The challenges with carving out a rotation and keeping players engaged will be just as meaningful this season, even with several of the players talking about sacrifice and buying into their role. In the Venn diagram of finding the right rotation that leads to productive groupings that win games and keeping all the players engaged by getting them enough minutes a night to night and throughout the full season, Vogel will have to live in the center more often than not. That's a big ask and, honestly, it's not fair to expect him to achieve it all this season. If anything, it is a good problem to have, and one that I believe they will figure out eventually, and I believe they learned from the mistake that they made last year and they will not make it again. So, what do you think of this roster and depth of Lakers? Let us know in the comments section, and to stay up to date with my latest videos and latest NBA news, make sure to subscribe to the Trade Hoops YouTube channel by clicking the red subscribe button. If you like watching our video, then please don't forget to like and share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.